How are ya? You doing well? We're doing well up the back. It's really great to be here with you. Yes, it's true. I was on Australia's Funniest Home Videos. I placed second. Robbed. I'm the Shannon Knoll of this generation. But you know, when I was like 3 years old, and if you watch the video, I looked like an absolute rock star. But it didn't last very long. That swagger. Like by the time I hit like year 12, I was pretty awkward. In fact, I will tell you a story. When I was in year 12, I had tickets to this comedy show. Okay, I was really keen, and I was going with a mate. He pulled out last minute, just absolutely dogged me. And I'm there. I'm there literally at QPAC. It's at QPAC. I'm really keen, and I'm like, who am I going to ask to come? I've got this other ticket. I just need one person to come. And I worked at Target, and there was a girl. It was a girl that worked at Target, and she and I were getting to talking a bit, and it's not my current wife now. I don't know. I haven't seen her in years, so let's just get that out of the way. It ended very fast, and you'll hear about why. Okay, that's a little bit of a preemptive. I called her up and I said, I won't use her name. I said, hello. I knew she kind of liked me, you know, whatever. And I said, I got 2 tickets to this show at QPAC. Do you want to come? And she's like, okay, great, yeah, let's do it. So she gets on a bus and she comes to the city, and there we are. And it's like an hour before it starts, and you know, we're just chatting, whatever, and it's all cool. And I'm like, I know it was a date because she was like wearing kind of nice clothes, and I'm like, damn it, okay. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like shorts and thongs. It was like, nah, okay, damn it, okay. And so that's just that, laying the scene. So now it's a date, and it's awkward, and I'm awkward. I'm an awkward person. I was then, probably still am. And so I'm there, and anyway, the show starts, and we had a plan that when the show finished, we'd get a bus, whenever that was. We'd get a bus back to Browns Plains, if you know where that is. That's where we lived near Browns Plains. Then we get lift home from Browns Plains. Pretty simple. And also, on top of that, I had this DVD set of the comedian. He was in a TV show, and I had a DVD set. You're really curious as to who it is, and but anyway, I had a DVD set of a show that he was in, and I really wanted to get it signed. So I'm like, sweet, I brought that along. I'm like, I'm so keen because he's going to do a signing at the end, and I'm going to get that signed. It's going to be great. So the show starts. It's really funny. We're sitting there, we're having a great time, and then suddenly she leans over to me and she says, is it okay if my sister picks us up? And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's fine. She's like, cool, because she's here now. It's like halfway through the show. And I'm like, well, I don't really, I'd love to watch the end of it. And she's like, oh, okay, yeah, no worries, okay. So she sits there and she's on her phone, right? So she's texting, her sister's texting her. And I'm sitting there, and suddenly, like, she's just enwrapped in her phone, and I'm looking, and her sister is texting her, all caps, expletives, just, you know, get out here, right, you know, and she's like going, oh my God, and I'm sitting there trying to enjoy it. I'm laughing, but I can see there's a lot of discomfort and tension happening right next to me. She does not want to be there, and it's, you know, it's not fun to go somewhere and watch something when the person next to you does not want to be there any longer, and all they want to do is leave. So she's, you know, because she's trying to keep things, you know, going okay, and anyway, so I'm trying to, and this show goes forever, like it just does not stop. You're just sitting there like going, oh my gosh, she's sitting there going, oh my gosh, the texts are just flying in, she's not even looking, she's just on her phone, just going, we'll be out soon, I promise. Anyway, so finally the show finishes, she grabs my hand, we run we bye-bye to the signing desk, no deal, run all the way down South Bank to where the wheel is, and the car was parked there. So we run over, and lo and behold, it's not her sister. Well, it is her sister, but it's her sister's bogan boyfriend. In a souped-up Nissan Skyline with NOS and neon and the whole works. You know, spoiler, like Need for Speed Underground 2 level. Like this is the era. This is the era. Okay, and so we pile into the back. I'll get to the scene. I'm in the back left of the car. She's in the back right. The sister is in the front left. The boyfriend's in the front right. Okay, set the scene. It's going to become important later. Remember that. Okay, so we get in the car. The sister just turns around and just goes, I'm going to remove all the swear words, okay? Where the have you been? And just goes off. Like, I've just never heard screaming like this in my life. She's going off. The boyfriend, he starts driving off down Grey Street doing 75. It's incredibly dangerous. Peak hour traffic on a Saturday night. Like, I'm talking swerving past grannies, swerving past young families. Like, and it's insane. I'm getting screaming from the front left. I'm getting speeding from the front right. I don't want to be there. Every part of me wants to just get out of that car and walk back to QPAC and get my DVD signed. So I did something. And I'll probably never live up to this. This is probably, okay, I've gotten married now, but before then, this was probably as good as I was going to get, really, because I did something that I still to this day don't know what compelled me to do it. I don't know how I got the strength or the courage or any of all those things to really do this thing. So we're driving, speeding. Unfortunately, there's a red light coming up, but it turned green. But you know when there's like a red light and there's people, but there's cars piled up and it turns green and the cars still have to go. So you're kind of driving up to it and then you slow down for a bit and then you have to speed up again. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Yep. Okay. So in my brain, in my 17-year-old brain, I calculated the apex of the deceleration of that vehicle. Somehow, I don't know how. And I grab my bag. Well, side note, it wasn't. First, I grabbed the wrong bag. It was also a canvas tote bag. Looked very similar, but it wasn't my bag. So I quickly amended that, and I grabbed my actual bag. And this car was still moving at a considerable speed. And I just leant into the back and to the front. I said, just going to get out here, guys. And I opened the door, and I jumped. I just jumped out of the car. And they just drove off. They didn't even stop. They just drove. I just jumped out. You know, like, it's not like I didn't roll. I just hopped. You know, like, it just went, and I was on the sidewalk, and they were gone. It was great. Really, it was really cool. I mean, I don't know what the people on the street would have seen. Like, that would have been wild. Because it wasn't like a, see you guys, you know, it was just off. But, you know, like, that was, you don't know Browns Plains. It's far away. That would have been like 40 minutes minimum of that experience. There's a trifecta of awkwardness. You know, really not a great date. Screaming sister, speeding guy. I was, every fibre of my being did not want to be in that car. Every fibre, I was just like, my heart was screaming. My spirit was just going, nah, get out of there. And it pushed me to courage. And it's funny, like, after that, I walked all the way back to QPAC, and then I got to the end of the line of the signing thing, and I just basically walked, and the last guy finished, and I went there, I was like, how you going? I got my thing signed. It's great. I had a good chat. There was no one behind me, so I had a great chat. There was no pressure to finish early, you know. So, and then I got on a bus, just bus home right alone. How good is that? Don't have to talk to anyone. It was wonderful. Really turned out great. Never talked to them again in my life. That relationship kind of ended there. And the whole family worked at Target as well, so I got a lot of cold stares for the rest of my employment. Anyway, but good things came from that. But for me, I'm like, it's a lesson for me. And it's kind of what I want to talk about tonight. I want to talk about this idea that there can be something written on your heart. Something written on your heart that's saying, Liam, this is not you. This is not you. And everything in you is screaming. And sometimes we need to take the courage to say no and just get out of there. Jump out of the car. So, friends, I want to talk about it. I just want to jump to a scripture here. And it's a scripture from chapter Luke. And it says, and to all he said, if anyone wishes to be a follower of mine, they must leave themselves behind. Day after day, they must take up their cross and come with me. Whoever cares for their own safety is lost. But if a person will let themselves be lost for my sake, that person is safe. There's something really challenging about this idea that Jesus is talking about in the scripture here. There's something really challenging. There's some things that Jesus says, and they're really kind of easy to take in. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're just like really like, be kind to your neighbor. It's like, yep, sweet, I can do that. I get that, awesome. There's some things that he says that are like, I need like a theology degree to get this, and I need someone really smart to like unpack this for me. Then there are scriptures like this, and they're awesome. I love them. They're like meaty. They're meaty as. Because what Jesus is saying is he's saying everything opposite than what the world says today. And everything opposite than almost our first reaction to life is. We're almost born like children where we're kind of selfish, you know what I mean? Like we kind of just take and we just want comfort. We want that next thing, you know? And Jesus is saying, hang on. Everything you want right now, all the fickle stuff, all the stuff that doesn't really matter, leave that behind. Because if you leave that behind, the stuff that actually makes your heart sing, that will actually come. That will actually come. And so what I want to talk about tonight is the stuff that's written on our hearts. It's all here. Do you know God knows everything you'll ever do? He saw your birth and he's actually seen your death. It's crazy, I know. Okay, I didn't really want to get, but this is like crazy stuff. But God's seen your whole life. He's not surprised by any mistake you've ever made. He's not surprised by it. He's hurting for you. But it's like watching a movie and you're crying in the movie and then you watch it again and you still cry. Like even though you know what happens, like the emotion of like, I think God's like that. Like he's watching, he's seeing, he knows what's going to happen, but he's still crying out. He's still crying out when we're having an issues and we need grace and we need him to lift us up. He's still crying out. He's saying, come to me. Come to me. And all this stuff, our plan, our story is all written on our heart. And it's our heart that is screaming out when we need to change. You know, I really love this idea of purpose and potential because everyone in this room has the potential to do something great with their life. Every single person. You might feel like tonight, I'm just 17 years old and I don't really know what I want to do with my life and I don't really see my gifts. I've never really done anything and I've been like, wow, I'm amazing at that. Or I've never really done anything and someone's pulled me aside and said, dude or gal, you are really good at that. You need to spend the rest of your life doing that. Maybe like, I've never had that experience, so I don't know. Maybe you've never seen something and your heart's just gone, I really want it. Like maybe, you know, like sometimes you might watch a video about like poverty or something, or you might watch a video about some, like, you know, environmentalism or animal cruelty, or you might watch a video that really just makes you go like, oh my gosh, that is crazy. Everything in me just wants to fix that. Everything in me just, maybe you've never felt like that. But you know, God has put something in your heart. He's written it there. He's written it there. He's written a purpose for you. He actually has a plan for your life that is so much bigger than you could ever know. If you think your life is really relegated to mediocrity, that's not true. You can choose a life of mediocrity if you want. And you know what? People do. People do. There are many people out there. Most people, really. They choose a life that's just of mediocrity. Why? Because what they're choosing instead is comfort, security, safety. And what Jesus tells us is that we can't search for that stuff. We can't search for comfort, security, and safety. Really. We can find it, but we need to search for something more. There's something exciting about a life with God. There's something exciting about a life with Christ. Because when he calls you, he calls you into a life of adventure, of excitement, of purpose, of potential. And when you say yes, your life is filled with joy. Your life is filled with just incredible adventures. And your life is filled with also discomfort. Do you think when people climb a mountain, like you watch people climb Mount Everest, and you're just like, why are you doing that? You know, and they have like frozen snot, and it's like, that's the grossest part of it. It's like, okay, I know you've been like months up there, and I know like you look like every step is like giving childbirth, but the frozen snot's really gross, isn't it? Is that just me? And I know, like I saw Father Morgan, if you know who Father Morgan is, he did a post the other day about how mountaineers, they're always like on their way up. They're like, I'm never doing this again. And then once they get off the mountain, they're like, when's the next one? And I love that idea. But when we talk about people who do extreme things, they go on these adventures, they choose something that they know is going to bring discomfort. But what's at the end of that? It's the summit. It's the summit. It's the incredible joy and the victory of achieving a goal. And you got to go back down again. And you get to the bottom, you're like, when's my next one? You know, I pray tonight that we make a choice. We make a choice to live a life not searching for comfort, not searching for the easy way out, because that's not where your potential lies. Your potential lies with overcoming. It might not be mountaineering, but gosh, it's something else. It's something harder, maybe. Maybe for you it's harder. Maybe for other people it's fine. Maybe for you it's the hardest thing ever. But if God's calling you to that, I believe tonight's going to be the night to choose that. You know, we wrote this song this year on the album 15. It's called Home, and it's a pretty cool song. And it came out of a prayer time of mine, where I was reading a scripture, and it's from the second book of Samuel, and it's really convoluted, and I didn't really get it. But what really stood out to me was it's basically there's this thing called the Ark of the Covenant, and it was where God dwelled. It was this it's like a box kind of thing that God dwelled in, and then the Israelites they carried him around, and it's a long story. Read about it. But basically, imagine it's God, right? It's the most holy of holies, right? And then there was this guy called King David, and he lived in this house. And when they got to this land and they were like settling down, King David lived in this house, and then they had God in the Ark of the Covenant. They had him in a tent. And King David was like, I think we should build him a house. And then God said to this other dude, Nathan, who was a prophet, and he said, Nathan, tell David, you got to build me a house. Weird story, but it might not mean anything to you, but something spoke to me massively. God said to me, Liam, I need you to build a house for me. I need you to build a home for me in your heart. Build a home for me in your heart. Because I realized that I was kind of renting space for God. I don't know if you feel like that too. I was renting space for God. I was kind of like saying to God, look, I'll give you the couch for now. I've had a great time. I went to conference when I was in year 12, had an incredible encounter with God. I accepted him into my life. And from there, I've grown and become, I've really tried to follow God in my life since then. And I come to this prayer time, and I sort of realize that I'm still only really giving God a temporary place in myself. I'm really kind of just saying, look, if things don't work out, I can just kick you out. Do you know what I mean? Is that weird? Like, I said to God, I think I need to build you a home. And there was all these other scriptures for that day on the daily readings, and they're all about this idea of fertile ground. You know, we sow our seeds in fertile ground. So God, I want to build you a brick house, a solid house, a home in my heart for you. I want to build you something that I can't even get rid of if I wanted to. I want you to be so ingrained in my life, into my spirit, that even if I was like, I got to move on, even if you would still call me back, because I gave you that. I gave you that space, you know? And I gave it to you on fertile ground. I put it on a place that was actually going to have impact in my life. I wasn't being asked to put God in a place of just like Sunday only, just easy Catholicism, easy Christianity. God, I only want you to impact the parts of my life that are really easy for you to impact, and then all the other stuff, I really don't need you. Thanks. I was really prompted as like on fertile ground. God wanted me to build a house on fertile ground where He could actually do stuff. He could actually move. Have you ever heard the idea of we just need to trust in God? You ever heard that? I think it's easy to think about trusting in God like you trust in your friend. Billy's great. He's always come through. He's a loyal friend. I trust Billy. That's not an action. It's kind of just words. It's feeling. You really feel it. You feel like I trust Billy. Billy's great. Gets the job done. I trust Billy. Maybe you trust Billy too. But I don't know. There's something about trusting God that actually goes one further. He's not asking you to say in your prayer time. He's not asking you to say trust in me. He's asking you to have an action of trust. It's like, have you ever seen those trust falls where you like have someone there? You hope they're not a prankster, and you go like that, and then you just like fall back. That's almost what trusting God is like. It's like you say, God, I don't really have it all together. I don't have all the answers to my life, and I'm not going to try and control 100% of my life, because I know I can't control it. And I know if I try to control it, I probably wouldn't do very much good stuff. Do you know what I mean? I'd probably just waste it. It's saying, God, I want less of me, and I want you to fill the gap. I want you to fill that space, because that's what trust is. You know, I've seen people who's been on this stage preaching, playing music. I've seen people who are in this community. I've seen them step out in crazy faith. What does that mean? They trusted in God. And when you truly trust in God, you say, God, I'm scared because I don't know what's going to happen next, but I'm giving it over to you. And do you know what? He's shown me, and I've seen it in other people. When we have the ability to say, God, I want less of me, and I want you to fill the gaps. When we have the ability to say, God, I want to trust in you. I'm really scared. I don't really know what's going to happen financially. I'm just stepping out in faith financially. I'm just stepping out in faith spiritually. I'm just stepping out in faith physically. I don't know if I can achieve this. I don't know if my body will let me achieve this. In terms of my friends, I don't know if I'll have my friends after this. I don't know if I'll have a job after this. But I feel you're calling to me. I feel you're saying something to me. And I have to say yes. And when we do that, when we walk scared into life, taking a risk because God's calling us, that's when big things happen. That's when we start to live out of our potential. That's when we start to live out of a purpose. And that's when joy comes. I can tell you right now, if you get to the end of your life and you live in comfort and safety, there won't be joy. But when you step out and say, God, I want an adventure with you, Lord. And, you know, I was thinking about this after coming out of conference, man. It was a great conference. I had just an incredible time. And the theme of conference, of course, was empty. And that word has been said many, many times. And if you went to conference, you're like, okay, I get it. Empty, sweet. I've heard it a million times. But it's such a cool concept. Like, even right now, I'm pulling it apart even further. And I could, and another 1,000 speakers could do it after me. We'd never get to the full depth and breadth of what God's calling us to do in terms of emptying ourselves, saying, I don't got this. You got this, Lord. I don't have this. You got it, and I want to follow you. I'm not following my own will, because my own will is getting Maccas. Really. God's calling me to way bigger stuff than getting that, okay? But it's only at a moment of surrender that we can really say yes to him. It's really hard to do that when you're just walking down the street. It's really hard to say yes to God and the big things when you're just living your day-to-day life. I mean, it might happen for you. I know for me, it's in times of worship. And if I could just invite the band up to give me a bed of some pads and stuff, that'd be great. The act of surrender is an act that is us saying to God, I don't have this. You need to move. And it happens for me. I mean, it happens for me. Maybe it happens for you too. But I believe in the act of worship. I believe in the act of worship. I believe in what we're going to do tonight. Why? Because when we worship God, we are singing to him. And the atmosphere changes when we invite him into this space. The atmosphere of this room will change the second we start singing his praises. Because when he moves, things change. When he moves, the room changes. Our hearts change. I can tell you it's happened to me so many times. And maybe tonight, you'll get a glimpse of that whole lifetime of your journey from birth to death. Maybe in worship tonight, you'll experience something. In worship, when you give yourself, when you say to Lord, I need you, Lord. I need you. I need everything from you, Lord Jesus. I need you tonight, Lord. maybe in a point of surrender. You'll peek beyond the veil. You'll peek beyond the veil of the drudgery of everyday life, the haze and smog of just living day to day, trying to just live in your survival instinct and just getting things done and moving to the next thing. You'll peek beyond that. You'll peek beyond the immediacy of this life that we live in the 21st century, of just next thing. You'll peek beyond that. You'll peek into how God sees your life. How God sees your life is so much different to how we see our life. He sees everything. He sees everything you could be. He sees the incredible person you could be. He sees the life-changing person that you could be. He sees the person that changes not only this church, but changes the world, brings people out of despair because of your belief in him, because of your ability to step beyond your own strength and into his. Step beyond the walls that you've created for yourself and into the arms of him who loves you and only wants to show you that you have incredible potential and you have the ability to change the world. Do you see that? Do you see that potential? Do you see it? I'm encouraging you, if you don't, surrender tonight. Empty yourself tonight. Empty yourself to the potential of God in your life.